Hey guys, this is Ryan Gordon. I'm coming at you here from Dallas, Texas. This is What Daddy Doesn't Know. I'm here to discuss the really funny, really fucked up shit that millennials don't always get the chance to talk about. I do want to point out that I want to reach out to generations outside of millennials and explain our take on the world. And I want to provide younger generations with a news take that isn't from the point of view of our grandparents. Ultimately, I hope to inspire action and involvement among millennials, though. So, thank you for tuning in. This is What Daddy Doesn't Know. As you know, I'm going to start each episode with a story that Daddy or members of older generations might not know about us. This week, the story is not from me. We have a very special guest, a millennial coronavirus survivor. Welcome our guest for this week. This is one of my good buddies, Thad, and I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hey guys, my name is Thad. I live in Dallas here in Deep Ellum. I'm originally from Mississippi and went to school in Ole Miss, Hotty Toddy, and I am a COVID-19 survivor.
All right. So, you were one of the first people here in Dallas to have it. The story of how you got it's really interesting. But first, I mean, what did it feel like whenever you found out you had it, being so early on?
Yeah, gosh, you were there. It was so surreal for me. Like, I couldn't believe I caught it. I thought, what are the odds that I would catch something like this? Um, And once I did realize I had it, it was this sense of panic and fear. I didn't want to tell my parents because it would make them nervous. And I didn't want to tell my friends because I thought it would put a stigma on me where no one wanted to hang out with me ever again. I've had coronavirus. We don't want to see that in the group anymore. So that's kind of where I was when I first got it, because it was so new and no one knew how to handle it.
Yeah, I remember you were texting our group text, and the way that you got it was interesting to me because none of us had seen you, but you told us, something about your work whenever you got back. So tell us a little bit about how you got it and then coming back, how you were treated at work and all that.
Yeah, so you know me, I'm a little jet setter. I like to go to a little random weekends. So in the beginning of March, I was in New York with a buddy to celebrate his birthday. It was very last minute, and I was like, hey, why not? Flights are cheap, let's do it. So we were just painting the town red, whatnot, having fun at different bars, going to different restaurants, and just enjoying our time there. And on my last night in New York, I got like a push notification from like CNN or BuzzFeed, maybe because I love BuzzFeed, saying that there's a small area in New York that had like an outbreak with coronavirus. And I was like, whatever. I was nowhere near that area. I'm fine. So that night on Sunday, I got a call from my boss saying, "Hey, don't come to work on Monday. We just don't, want you to get anyone sick." My first thought was, I'm getting fired. But they said they didn't want me to come and get sick, and I wanted to go because we're having our team happy hour, and I like a good happy hour, so that's kind of where I was getting upset with.
Okay, yeah. So that was what surprised me because you had texted our group text and said that your work told you not to come in, and I was like, that's a little extreme. Of course, this was the first wave of it coming into the States, so we didn't really know the extremity of it. Then, so after that, when did you start feeling the like a little bit of sickness? Start feeling like maybe they were right about how severe it was in New York?
Yeah, so that Monday night, I went to my team event. It was Painting with a Twist. I am no Picasso, if anyone was wondering. So yeah, I was feeling fine. And then Tuesday morning, I got up to go to work, and I was feeling not the greatest, but I just chalked it up to like being like hungover. 3 days of partying, you're bound to like not feel like on your A game going to work on Tuesday. But through like midday of Tuesday, I started feeling a little like more sick. I started getting a cough and more body aches. So I was like, okay, I don't feel well, so let me go home. So during lunch, I went home and took my temperature, and I had a fever of like 102. And at that moment, I still was like, what are the odds? There's no way I got the coronavirus. It's got to be like the flu or whatever. And that's what I texted my buddy saying, hey, yo, I feel like crap. Am I going through withdrawals or something? And then that my group of buddies were like, we all feel kind of sick. And then there was some that didn't feel sick. So there's that spectrum of symptoms in my friend group.
Yeah, so did anybody that you work with end up getting sick? And what were the different types of symptoms that you guys experienced across the board, including your friends up in New York?
Yeah. So with the work coworkers, two of them did test positive. And that's why that was a big eye opener for me because at the time I didn't have any symptoms. I wasn't coughing. I didn't touch them or anything like that. So it goes to show you that you can transfer the disease or virus without showing any symptoms. The symptoms that I did have, like I said, I had a fever, I had sweats at night, I had chills in the daytime, and I had this cough that I could not get rid of for a week. And that's kind of when I made my mind up saying, maybe this isn't the flu. Maybe I should get tested.
Yeah, so especially at that time here in Dallas, I know that someone in our group text said New York wasn't testing whenever you had texted us about your work saying not to come in. And so Dallas obviously wasn't testing like avidly at the time. How did you go about getting tested? Like, at what point were you like, maybe this is the coronavirus? And how did you even figure out where to get tested at that point?
Yeah, so that was quite the roller coaster ride. So on Wednesday, I decided I'm going to call the CDC and figure out I need to get tested. I figured it'll be very simple, cut and dry. They'll test me. But they had a list of like questions and requirements to even test it because it was so limited at the time. And with me being younger, they were like, just stay home, call your primary care physician, and he'll take care of you. So I went through that line of chain, called my PCP, and he was like, we can't help you. Don't come here. Call the urgent care. And I called urgent care. They're like, don't you come here. So they said, just sit at home and just wait it out. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'll just sit at home. And that's when I put myself in quarantine. Well, Tuesday, I put myself in quarantine, but that's when I was like, okay, I'm not leaving my apartment unless I am getting tested. And then I finally got tested after my buddy in New York got his results back that following Saturday. I was able to say, hey, the person I was staying with is positive. I'm high risk, and they were able to get me in finally. And I went and got that long cotton swab up my nostril. That was not fun.
Yeah, you said you went to like the first of two in Dallas on Lover's Lane.
Yeah,
And
so I went to
how
Baylor.
how did you get your results back though? Because I know you had a hard time speaking with anyone.
Yeah, so getting tested was already hell and back. Figuring out my results was another thing that I was not able to do either. I got my notification of my virus through the Baylor app. They just said your results are ready, and it said I was positive, and I did not hear anything from anyone else again. So I proactively reached out to the CDC trying to figure out what should I do, when can I leave the apartment, and they were still kind of like the guidelines are changing every day, so we're not sure. Just go to cdc.gov and stay up to date there. And that was the last I heard from anyone.
Yeah, so I mean, how did you personally deal with your symptoms? Were you taking allergy medicine? Were you just sleeping a lot? Like what and how long did it take before you started feeling like more yourself?
Yeah, so for me, I was only sick for 2, maybe 3 days. That's when my fever broke. So when I actually got tested, I didn't have fever. I didn't have like any of the symptoms besides a little cough still. Um, so in that sense, I was, I guess, lucky. How I handled it was I just did a lot of sleeping and ate a lot of chicken noodle soup and drank Gatorade.
There you go. I mean, you were isolated because I remember in our group text, like you were at home from the very beginning, and I'm really proud of you for staying isolated that long. How long were you actually isolated, and at what point were you like sure that you could not be contagious? How did you go about that? How did that change in your mind?
Yeah, so I pretty much went into quarantine maybe March 10th or 11th. I can't remember the exact day, but it was whatever that Tuesday was following the first weekend in March. And I stayed in quarantine, like did leave my apartment until 14 days after my test came back positive. So I was pretty much in quarantine for 28 days almost. Um, just to be safe, I didn't want to get anyone sick, and I didn't want to be that cause, and I didn't want to, like a better word, blood on my hands type of thing. So I want to be more safe than sorry. Um, and it was a long 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's something. I was talking to one of our friends and we were both like, man, that is a trooper. Like you've just been really precautious of everyone around you as well. What have you been doing to keep yourself busy other than working from home outside of that?
Yeah, so to begin with my quarantine, I did the whole Netflix, Hulu thing. Let's binge watch 2 seasons a day and not leave the couch. But then I kind of realized for me, myself, I like to move a lot and especially use my hands. So I was like, let's pick up a hobby. So around like week 2 or week 3, I was like, let's try knitting because, you can do a little things with your hand. That lasted for 2 days. I am not a knitter, so I will not be pursuing that as a career.
I'll take your knitting supplies and I'll take up that hobby for you.
Deal. But what finally worked for me was just getting back in the routine, even though like I wasn't going out to work or whatnot. I woke up early. I made my breakfast, 3 eggs, turkey sausage type of thing. I meal prep on Sundays, and just trying to get my brain back in routine. And that was kind of what kind of helped me get back to sanity, I guess.
Okay. So, I know that you're a big advocate of giving blood, and I'm just curious about how you feel about you having the antibodies. How long it took before you went and gave blood, and how you feel about all that, and would suggest to other people.
Yeah, like you said, I'm a very, very avid blood donor. So all the viewers out there, if you don't know your blood type, figure it out because it's really important. I'm O negative, if you're wondering, a universal donor. With the question to giving blood in regards to studying the coronavirus, I think it's really important. I think anything we could do to help expedite the research, also helping people who are in need. I was reading an article the other day about a lady who recovered after getting a transplant. I'm not sure what you call it, the blood transfusion or whatever. And she, a couple of days later, the virus was like going out of her system. So I think it's really important to do whatever we can as people to help other people. So I think that's a very admirable thing to do.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's a really good point. I know that you speak out about giving blood a lot, so I really like that you're a big promoter of that. I guess just if you have any tips for people in isolation, because you're like the captain of that day one OG.
Yeah.
So if you have any
Yeah.
tips for people in isolation or people, who might be going out without masks or thinking that it is not a big deal, that it might be, anything you have
Yeah.
to say?
Yeah. Tip one, stay active, keep your body moving. I'm a big active person. If you've known me or ever meet me, I like to do things. So just doing little workouts in your apartment, going out for a walk if you're able to, without harming anyone else, getting some fresh air. I think that's really important, especially with the beautiful day we had this week. Another thing I would say is just be cautious of other people. Wear your mask. Like myself, I thought I was invincible. It's like I would never get this, and I was one of the first people to get it. So it just goes to show you that you're not safe from anything. It doesn't discriminate. So just make sure you're caring about other people as well.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. We appreciate you, and I'm so proud to say I know someone who really did quarantine themselves and was thinking about others in that way. I'm really proud to see how you handled being alone for so long because you're a social butterfly and you've been doing it at home.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get a summer so I can show off this summer vibe, but we'll see.
Yeah, if not, we got this virtual. We can do a little virtual dance off.
Oh yeah, that would be a tip 3 for you guys. You can still connect with your loved ones and family through all the technology. It's been crazy how I've reconnected with people I haven't talked to in ages because there's more time to think about things, reflect, and just give them a FaceTime or a Zoom invite and just reconnect and enjoy life and enjoy this time because it's a rare, interesting
Yeah.
moment in our lives.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for that. And thank you, Thad, for coming on here. So we will take off with you. And once again, I appreciate you. Stay well and keep spreading the good vibes.
Bye, guys. See ya.
So, as you can see, this virus truly can affect anyone, whether you're young and healthy or not. Like Thad did, take the precautions, stay isolated. If you do have to go out to the store or anything, wear a mask. As of this weekend, it will be mandated in Dallas County and I'm sure many others across the nation. And I know we all have the tendency to want to reject authority. But at the end of the day, no one can say wearing a mask is not going to help us end this quarantine quicker. And wearing a mask is not going to make it worse for anyone. Our ultimate goal is getting past this, flattening the curve. So if you're not taking the precautions, ask yourself why and maybe try and rethink it. So again, I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. I appreciate all y'all's support. Go check out the Instagram at What Daddy Doesn't Know. And please go like and subscribe to my YouTube and Apple Podcast channel. And let me know any thoughts that you have on future episodes. I would love to hear all of your feedback. At the end of the day, my main goal is to be as unbiased as possible. So I really appreciate any words or thoughts you guys have. As a millennial, I know that we have the capability to change the world, and at this point, it's up to us. So once again, thank you for tuning in. This is What Daddy Doesn't Know.